Good day. Somebody once said that we are all prisoners of our aspirations. That is a very profound statement if you really look at it. If you want to be, say, a lawyer, you start to work towards being a lawyer from the most basic form until you get into college or university and go through graduation and become a lawyer. There still are some other regulatory things you may want to go through. But whatever process it is, whatever aspiration you have, you become a prisoner of that aspiration until you achieve it. The same too can be said for those who aspire to be called Nobel Peace Laureates. And for one person who has not hidden that aspiration, it's President Donald Trump. But Donald Trump has created a situation where that aspiration has been put to question. He supported the war between Israel and Iran, at least in the early stages of it. But for forcefully bringing a ceasefire between those two belligerent parties, one or two people in the American Congress have nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. So President Trump's aspiration to be a Nobel Peace Laureate may just be what may have saved the world from a very calamitous historical reality. One where Israel and Iran would have escalated to the point where Iran would have now taken severe measures that would have had impacted on the Middle East, closed the Strait of Hormuz, increased oil prices, and maybe lead to economic collapse in so many several countries. So we don't know how true President Trump is to this aspiration to become a Nobel Peace Laureate, because from what we have heard, he wants to be like President Barack Obama, who was nominated and got the Nobel Peace Prize, even before he even ascended to being the president of America. So this is it. We now have a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. That ceasefire has lasted a day so far. And when Israel tried to break that ceasefire, Trump came hard on them and insisted that they should stop it. And he emphatically said and signed, "Stop it," by the President of America, Donald J. Trump. Everybody always knew that it is only the American president that can rein in the excesses and the belligerence and the actions of the Israeli state and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And he has insisted that he wants to see a ceasefire. But here's the thing, while this war was going on for the past 1 or 2 weeks, the whole world, the other two constituents of the multipolar world, China and Russia, were getting on as if the world was not at a precarious end. Chinese President Xi Jinping was having a ministerial meeting or a presidential summit, in Kazakhstan, where he was having a meeting with all the Central Asian presidents and forming new realities and new partnerships. At that same time also, there was a meeting between the Chinese government and the 53 African governments under the framework of the China-Africa Economic Partnership for Shared Development program. They were coming out with a statement that China and Africa had come to an agreement where there will be no tariffs on African goods exported to China from 53 African countries. So the world was going on. In Russia, President Putin was hosting the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, something akin to Davos, an economic program where he always hosted business leaders from several countries in the world. This time around, it was 140 participating countries. 20,000 participants took part in that conference at a time that bombs and missiles were being lobbed in another part of the world. It was as if reality was just leaving those other people who had wanted to fight behind. That fight was being fanned, ironically, by the American president, who aspires to become a Nobel Peace Prize laureate one day. Good day, welcome to my channel, Ibima Mungo's Perspective on Global Affairs. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you have any opinions regarding the ideas I express here, please leave them in the comment section. If anything I say resonates with you, like and share. The Iran-Israeli conflict, now called the 12-day war by President Trump, as it's under a ceasefire now. It's holding. This is about the second day. So it's holding. And what did we get out of it? The world was on the brink. But if anything was almost threatened, it was the American president's presidency. Already is shaky, already has some problems, because even though he pulled back America from the brink, the very fact that he went and supported Israel has put to question his credentials as a peacemaker, someone who doesn't like war, and a negotiator for peace. His MAGA base is really unhappy with him now, and some of them are at arms with him. But even then, Congress is still looking at the fact that he may have committed some impeachable offenses. But he did come back from the brink, because what was being asked of him was really big. What was being asked of him was that he should put his whole presidency online and support the state of Israel, which is complicit in many actions that are at variance with the interests of America. So it didn't sit well with a lot of Americans. The polling number stated so, and it brought to light the influence of the Israeli lobby on American presidency and American political class. At this point, a lot of people are questioning, how did we fall under the spell of the Israeli lobby? But the Israeli lobby is formidable, but they are under the spotlight. These days, that question is being asked in many talk shows, in many threads on Twitter. You will see this is a vibrant discussion point now. How did the Israeli lobby get to be so influential? In fact, one of Trump's biggest supporters, Major Taylor Green, has even come out today and accused the Israelis of being the one who assassinated JFK, because he tried to make peace and deny the Israelis access to nuclear materials and nuclear warhead and nuclear weapons in 1963. That's a very weighty accusation she has made, but she made it today. So that's the kind of discourse that is now going on. And this blowback and backlash against Israel and the Israeli lobby is one too that has even moved to the point where, even though they are now innocent bystanders caught up in a reality they didn't create, American Jews who possibly are not Zionists and who do not support all that has been going on in Israel in recent times have started to face the brunt of an angry class of people in America and anti-Semitism, what they call hate crimes against Americans, Jews. It's increasing. We now have increased cases of bombing of synagogues. Recently, 2 members of the Israeli embassy were gunned down after an event. So this is the kind of exposure and the kind of backlash and the kind of pushback society somehow is putting on the Israeli lobby. The Israeli lobby, you should know, is made up of Zionist Jews on one hand. There are very few, but predominantly they are made up of evangelical Zionists, Christians, mainly Christians. They are the ones who support the concept of the Israeli state and the Zionist movement. So this is what Trump has given to American Jews. Some have even said that he was the greatest supporter of the Jews. But this is what I have seen out of it. We should understand that one of the biggest supporters of Trump was Miriam Alderson. She has always had a preferred candidate in Marco Rubio. She even put him forward as being the vice president under Trump. But like I've said, Trump has become duplicitous and he has learned to dribble. He's now two-faced. And what did he do? Rather than pick Marco Rubio, he swiped and swerved and then ended up with J.D. Vance, someone who has a strong America First agenda by instinct, not someone who was completely a neocon and a Zionist, a committed and stated Zionist like Marco Rubio. So when he did that, because he knew it, I think he sensed that as had happened with JFK, he may also be the one, he may be taken out and someone much more committed to the Israeli cause will be replaced. So he felt that it was not safe for him to put Marco Rubio there. This is my conjecture because that happened with JFK. The one who took over from JFK was LBJ, Lyndon Johnson, and he was a complete Zionist to the core. And he helped the growth and the development of the the Israeli nuclear program and all the goals and wishes that the Israeli lobby wanted from him. He gave it to them. So now they're under the spotlight, and that's not a good thing. This is the very first time in a long time that they are facing that kind of questioning in American media and press. Then we come to the Chinese. Trump may have been prompted to finally take this decision because there are some geopolitical hawks out there. Russia is, and Russia had stated clearly through Putin that they will support Iran. The one person who has not been forceful and who said little, but who everybody knew was going to support Iran was China. But China holds more cards than giving diplomatic cover and material cover to Iran. Now, these are military things, and the Israelis were burning up military assets, especially the interceptor missiles, at a rate that was alarming. In fact, it was stated that in 2 weeks of this conflict, Israel burnt what it would take America almost 2 years to manufacture in interceptor missiles, arrow missiles, and all. So if America wants to manufacture these new missiles, they need supplies of materials from guess who? From where? China. And China already has a ban on rare earth metals. The ban is comprehensive and total, and China has put companies like Norman Grumman and Boeing and Lockheed Martins and on their entity list. They don't sell materials to them for selling arms to Taiwan. So it just is not possible that they would have been able to manufacture replacements to give to Israel. Israel was being strained and stressed that they didn't have interceptor missiles anymore. They were running out. They were expending so much money to be able to carry out their raids, and the Iranians had bombed out their refinery where they were having to get a fuel for refueling their fighter jets anyway. So this was the kind of thinking that made Trump to consider that it may just not be important for him to continue with this. But even then, I had said that one country in the Middle East that may have reshaped the world is Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, the Emirate of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and possibly also Kuwait. Why do I say this? By taking forward an agenda to become developed outside oil, they were not very gifted in oil, right from even their best productive days in oil production days. It was only 6-7% of their resources that they could use that brought oil to them. In 1973, it was 75% of their income, but now it's just 6%. They didn't have vast amount of oil, so they always moved towards tourism, towards becoming a free trade port, and towards becoming a logistic hub and a market. And in pushing that agenda, they developed themselves and put a standard for other cities to start to follow. Doha followed, which is Qatar. Emirate, their immediate emirate in the United Arab Emirates, which is Abu Dhabi also followed, and there was a spawning and a growing and super growth and development of that whole region. That region has transformed. It's no more, the oil and gas is still very good. Countries like Qatar depend on being the biggest suppliers of gas, LNG to the world. But we all know that now Doha hosts cultural events, hosts other events, financial centers. There are so much, and innovation hubs. They are very much at the center of the world now in many ways, and they are also a logistic hub. And for this reason, that whole economy is very fragile and is averse to conflict. So they put to bear pressure on Trump. The same thing too. Now that they are members of the Gulf Cooperation Council, and they have also um, invited or recognized or made their peace with Iran. They didn't want any problems with Iran anymore. It's almost like to those who are much is given, much is expected. So for Iran, having gained this friendship and having gained this relationship, it was easier for them to consider the whole region. That if they were burning the region, they were burning the bridges that they had built for themselves. So that may have tampered the argument. But it is also the fact that Trump had come recently to this region, promised so much, got so much, and they have a role to play in his ability to get money whenever America sells debts, treasury notes. They are the ones who will be expected to buy. Because let's not forget, long ago, the biggest holder of American treasuries used to be Japan and China in trillions. But Japan has stopped and China has stopped that game. They don't buy American treasuries anymore, and rather they are offloading their stock of American treasuries. And as they are doing this, the only place you can get anybody to come buy your treasuries is from the Middle East. But the Middle Eastern countries have now focused on themselves. These days, what they do is that they have sovereign wealth funds, get great vehicles. I live in Saudi Arabia, and I know the power of the um, PIF. They use these vehicles in promoting the growth, building infrastructure, and stimulating their local economy and local consumption within their economy. So for them, using their money for their own good has become their priority. They don't come and pack it in New York and in London in the form of treasuries and bonds anymore. So this is where the world is now. So Trump coming to get their promise to do what they have stopped doing, especially under the Biden administration, it was supposed to be a big win for him. If he now is a supporter of an Israeli state that comes to blow up their economy, blow up their region, that would not have been good. So that may have been one of the reasons why Trump looked and said, there's so much to lose. What are we losing all this for? Just for Israel? Just for Netanyahu? What do we get back in return? Let's not forget that Trump is a businessman. He still has business impulses, even though he is now more a politician. He has learned political skill. As I've said, he has become politically savvy. So what did he do? He gave the Israeli lobby what they always wanted. He bombed the Iranian facilities in Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo. That has been what they always wanted. But even now, we get to see that they are not too happy with the fact that those mission, that very, very well coordinated and precise mission, something out of a, a Tom Cruise movie, just did not achieve the outcomes. The Iranians had already moved their enriched uranium and the centrifuges that were the bone of contention, and it is assumed that they may have moved the 400 grams of enriched material, some people say, into safekeeping, possibly in Russia or China or very deep underground at an unknown location. Now, the Iranians now have what they are calling strategic ambiguity in their nuclear program. The International Atomic Energy Agency does not know where the Israeli program, where the Iranian enriched material is now, and the Iranians are not willing and ready to share that location with them anymore because they feel that The International Atomic Energy Agency is complicit in sharing data with Israel and telling them where their nuclear scientists were and where their nuclear program and facilities were, giving Israel the information that they used in bombing those facilities and killing nuclear scientists in Tehran and all across Iran. So this is where we are now. We are at a situation where we see that some countries, whether they partook or did not partake, just by just being in the background and watching and showing solidarity with Iran, showed clearly the Americans the formidable foe they were going to fight on some other person's behalf. Ultimately, they will probably end up spending $1 trillion or $2 million. They will spend 5, 6 years, and they probably will lose several American servicemen, all for what? An Israeli cause. So, ceasefire, unheard of. It was a direct challenge to the desires of the Israeli lobby, to the desire of the Israeli prime minister when he told him, stop this. You just need to stop this. Stop. Don't bomb anymore. Take back your planes. So far, the ceasefire is holding. But we know the Israelis and ceasefire. They are not too good at it. Even though, from all reports, they were battered by this response of the Iranians. They were running out of interceptor missiles. Their they were running out of military materials, and the bombs and the devastation of the ballistic missiles landing in Tehran were really causing terror in the populace to the extent where they were losing a large part of their demographics. That was just not as they had calculated. It went against every calculus of Benjamin Netanyahu. And meanwhile, one of the big stated aims was regime change. Rather than see the people of Iran crumbling, they rallied around their Ayatollah and started demonstrating against in the streets. Thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of Iranians were coming out and daring the bombs. Despite the bombs and all the missiles flying across Tehran, they came out to support their government. And that was quite not what they had scripted to happen in Iran. So here we are now. We have Donald Trump, who has an aspiration to be a Nobel laureate. We have the Middle East sign a big relief because don't forget, it was the Qataris who brokered peace somehow and understanding with the Iranians. There was a lot of signaling going forward and backward that they wanted peace. They wanted a ceasefire. Both the Israelis were reaching out and the Iranians were also reaching out because look at it, for in all truth, the Iranians don't need it. But this is what I have come to see. It's just like if an infection barely hurts you, you build immunity. I am very sure that the Iranians are going to reorganize themselves, reorganize their military structures, their intelligence structures, and their manufacturing structures so that they can manufacture their ballistic missiles faster. They will do something about their intelligence and grab all the Mossad assets that they can find within the Iranian nation. And then they'll start to build factories, as I expect, deep underground where the Israelis, who still not control domain, the air domain within Iraq, will not be able to touch them. This is my thinking of the Iranian action going forward. So we are in a period of calm, and we are also in a period of alternative reality. The Chinese are just carrying on in this world. Every day you read about China. Just the other day, they set a new record in solar power generation. You read about Russia, they are continuing their unimpeded march across territories in Ukraine, bombing the Jibas out of Kiev and leaving Zelensky confused as to what reality is going to be for him. Maybe he too will be forced to go and make peace. Donald Trump will put up it there and tell him, take the terms of the Russians and get peace, or else you lose your whole country. So These two countries were calm, were renewing their relationship with Iran. And even one was, I have not mentioned, was very radical and was willing to transfer nuclear material, nuclear warheads to Iran, and that is North Korea. So Iran had a lot of positives out of this. They have come out of diplomatic limbo and they are now a different kind of country. In the propaganda space, they won the war. In the narrative space, they broke a lot of myths about Israel, but they were also battered. And even though the war may have gone on for long, they are resilient. They will prefer to savor the benefits of this ceasefire. ceasefire. This is where I come to the end of my video for today. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. If you have any opinions about what I have said, please leave them in the comment section. But the least you can do, if you've come this far, is to like and share. Thank you for being with me for today. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. The subscriber numbers are going up, and that's very encouraging. Thank you very much. See you.